Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, today we are unpacking a massive, literally margin-crushing problem that is quietly suffocating modern retailers entirely behind the scenes. If you're selling anything online right now, you already know that getting a customer to click buy is really only half the battle. The actual nightmare? Well, that often begins right after the package arrives at their door. We're talking about the absolute explosion of online returns and how it's kind of morphed from a simple cost of doing business into a full-blown existential threat to your bottom line. Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp the scale of the issue, just look at this number, $260 billion. I mean, wow, that is the massive profit-crushing boulder hanging directly over the retail industry today. This isn't just a minor operational hiccup, right? It's a colossal leak in the e-commerce bucket. But you gotta wonder, why is this number so staggering? What is actually driving this unprecedented surge? Well, a huge piece of that $260 billion puzzle comes down to returns fraud and policy abuse. This is when people basically exploit your generous return policies for their own financial gain. And in specific categories, like fashion e-commerce, the data is absolutely wild. Customers frequently order multiple sizes with the explicit intention of returning the ones that just don't fit. Or, even worse, they'll actually wear an expensive item out for a night and then send it right back. This behavior is driving fraudulent returns to a massive 15% of all orders in that sector. To put a dollar amount on it, this specific type of fraud cost the industry a staggering $103 billion in 2024 alone. So this brings us to a really fascinating crossroads. You've got this massive hole in your ship, leaking billions of dollars. So what do? How are retailers currently handling this absolute monster of chargebacks, fraudulent returns, and policy abuse? If you're a brand, you obviously can't just sit there and let your margins evaporate. You have to react. But the initial reaction from the retail industry might actually be doing way more harm than good. Because according to data from the National Retail Federation and Happy Returns, 72% of merchants are reacting by simply throwing up roadblocks. They're adding friction. They're starting to actually charge customers for returns, or they're putting up highly restrictive return windows just to stop the bleeding. And hey, it makes sense on paper, right? If returns cost too much, make them harder to do. But here is why this is absolutely crucial to your overall business strategy. Friction is a serious double-edged sword. Which brings us to the generic policy trap, basically punishing the wrong people. You see, when retailers panic about fraud and create these blanket rules, they fall right into a trap. Just look at who gets caught in this net. On one side, you have your loyal, repeat buyers. These are the people who absolutely love your brand, who have a super high lifetime value, and who occasionally just need to return something simply because, well, it didn't fit. On the other side, you have the return fraudsters, the people actively trying to game your system to score an expensive product for free. A generic policy looks at both of these groups and treats them exactly 100% identically. It just assumes everyone is a potential threat. So you're inadvertently changing the entire shopping environment for the exact people who actually keep your business afloat. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer collateral damage of these blanket policies. You literally end up charging your best customers just to make a return. You delay their refunds by weeks because you're stuck manually inspecting every single item. You deeply frustrate the loyal shoppers who totally expect a premium, hassle-free experience from you. And honestly, the worst part, the truly clever abusers, those professional fraudsters, they almost always find ways to slip through the cracks of these generic policies anyway. So you end up alienating your absolute best customers, and you're still losing money to the bad ones. So the crucial question we have to ask is this: how do you actually solve the puzzle? How do you aggressively protect your margins and stop the abuse without completely alienating the loyalists who actually drive your revenue? This is the literal million-dollar, or rather the $260 billion question. If blanket policies are this blunt instrument that just destroys brand loyalty, well, forward-thinking brands need a scalpel. They need a way to look at every single return request and treat it uniquely. And that leads us to the paradigm shift, the AI-driven solution. The most forward-thinking retailers right now are totally tossing out generic policies and turning straight to artificial intelligence. Think of AI as this hyper-intelligent magnifying glass that makes lightning-fast decisions in 3 simple steps. First, it evaluates identity. Who actually is this person? Do they have a long history of successful, high-value purchases with us? Second, it analyzes intent. Does this specific return pattern look like a normal sizing issue, or does it match the behavioral footprints of organized fraud? And finally, step 3. Based on those insights, it instantly applies the appropriate amount of friction. If it's a fraudster, boom, block it or demand high friction. But if it's your best customer, you remove the friction entirely. The whole shebang basically boils down to this: knowing exactly who is returning an item and exactly why. When you have this real-time visibility, you're no longer just operating in the dark. You can actively protect your business from that massive $103 billion fraud hemorrhage while simultaneously rolling out the red carpet for your good buyers. You give them a seamless, completely frictionless post-purchase experience that builds, frankly, incredible trust. Which brings us to the payoff: instant refunds and massive profits. So what actually happens to your bottom line when you implement this? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the shift. Hard data from Signified's State of Commerce report shows an incredible 58% reduction in manual returns inspections. By trusting AI to handle the risk assessment for those low-risk returns, you eliminate a massive labor cost. You're no longer paying warehouse staff to manually verify every single item from your trusted buyers before giving them their money back. The AI handles the heavy lifting, completely freeing up your team to only inspect the truly suspicious packages. And the customer experience? It transforms completely. As you can see, the portion of customers receiving risk-free instant refunds jumps from 35% before AI all the way up to 50% after AI implementation. That means half of your shoppers are getting their money back the literal second the return carrier scans their package. They aren't waiting weeks. They're super happy, their trust in your brand skyrockets, and guess what? They are significantly more likely to take that instant refund and immediately spend it again right on your website. This total shift in mindset is perfectly summarized by the Signified report. They state, the innovative approach to refunds and returns has the potential to turn a costly post-purchase burden into a competitive differentiator. Let that sink in for a second. Most retailers view returns as a complete nightmare, but if you're the brand offering instant refunds to trusted shoppers, while your competitors are making them wait 3 weeks and literally charging them a fee, you just turned a massive logistical burden into an extreme competitive advantage. So, I really want to leave you with this provocative question to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. Look closely at your own current operations. Is your return policy a profit killer? Or is it a competitive advantage? Are you treating your very best customers like potential criminals with generic friction? Or are you leveraging AI to build lasting loyalty and fiercely protect your margins? Listen, the e-commerce landscape is shifting rapidly, and mastering the post-purchase experience, it's really no longer optional. It is exactly how you survive the $260 billion nightmare.